What's up guys, today I thought I'd do a state of the watch collection, or at least a state of the watch collection for now, because my watch collection is ever changing, ever growing, so I just wanted to show you some of my favorite watches at the moment. By the way, this box is a very nice box which I got on Amazon for just over $40, and for that price I think it's a bargain. It's made of what feels to be like wood, and it's a very solid, very nice looking watch box, and for this price I'm pretty sure I can't find a better one than this one. This is not a sponsor, I didn't get this for free, I went out and bought this myself, but I was really impressed by the quality for the price, so I'll leave a link to that in the description in case you want it. Now, on the top row we have probably the watches I use most frequently. Then the bottom row we have the watches that I use probably every other week, so let's start with the ones on the top row. Now, the first watch I want to show you is the Ensuite Seaplane. This is a American-made watch. It's a dive watch, obviously. Very, very nice dial. You have half of the dial with kind of like that Omega Seamaster, at least the old style wave dial, and then at the top you have kind of like this starry sky at night. Then you have that seaplane on top of the 6 inside that little circle. Very, very nice. You have that chapter ring in blue for the minutes. You have this lollipop, a hand, seconds hand, these blue minute and hour hands, and you have a sapphire crystal bezel which makes this play with the light in a very, very nice way. Definitely looks a lot different than just plain old ceramic or stainless steel or aluminum. So I'm definitely a fan of the design of this watch, and for around $600 I think that having a Sellita SW200 movement in the back with that display case back, I think this is a very nice watch for the money, and it's definitely one of the ones that I've been using the most. I've got it on this black leather strap that I think plays really, really nicely with it. Now, coming up next, we have the Phantom 2 from Spectre Time. This is a kind of like a homage to Audemars Piguet, IWC, even Patek with that bezel with the screws in it. It's a very, very nice watch. It has that dial with a black tone, but it's a sunburst black, so it plays with the light very nicely. You have that brush finish at the top of the bezel and then polished on the sides. You have a very nice integrated bracelet, applied indices with chromed edges. You have that nice logo at the top, and the bracelet, to be honest, is excellent. I mean, it's one of the best bracelets that I've seen for this price. This is around the same price as the previous one, around $600 if I'm not mistaken. This one too has a Sellita SW200 movement, sapphire crystal obviously, and the bracelet is very comfortable. It has brush finishing on the sides of the case, and then you have these drilled out lugs so you can change the strap with no problem, and at the back you have an exhibition case back to show that movement with a bit of a custom rotor going on there. It looks good enough. And you also have what I think is a very classic looking watch, a very elegant watch. You can definitely use this to a more formal event or a casual scenario with no problem. Also very comfortable watch. If I'm not mistaken, it's just over 39mm in diameter, so it works very nicely for most occasions. Now, coming up next, we have a pretty similar watch, although not as good as the Spectre Time. This is the D1 Milano Atlas. This is more similar to the Nautilus from Patek Philippe. It has a much more simple dial with just a calendar, which between dates there, as you can see, so you can just get an idea of how long it actually takes to change dates, because we're still at around 10 o'clock, 20 past 10. Now, you have a very thin profile to the watch. It has a Seiko NH35 movement, which for a watch that retails at €545 is a bit ridiculous in my opinion, but it does have a very thin profile with that polished surface on the bezel and then brushed on the sides of the case. Very simple dial with a printed logo at the top and that orange seconds hand. The bracelet, it looks good, but it's not comfortable. It's not been finished to exactly a very high standard. Likewise, the case hasn't, so it's a bit rough around the edges. And then it has this mechanism that you have to just pull apart the bracelet to be able to open it. It doesn't have any button, doesn't have any way to actually open it without just having to brute force your way through it. So, I mean, it's a decent looking watch, but it's just not worth the money they're asking for it. Coming up next, we have one of my favorite watches. This is the Citizen Grand Turing Classic, and this is a watch that I owned twice. Likewise, I owned the Grand Turing Sport that I'm about to show you twice, and the second time I decided, yep, this is a keeper. This is a watch that is just excellent, an absolute bargain in my opinion. You have that Omega Ploprof-esque crown guard, and then you have kind of like a Panerai case shape with that very big dial with a very, very domed crystal. I mean, just look at that distortion on the sides. It's gorgeous. Obviously applied indices throughout, applied logo. Very, very nice dial. So much depth to that dial. I mean, it's definitely one of those dials that you just spend ages looking at, with that polished edge around the bezel and polished at the top of the case, also with a brush finish on the rest of the case. The thickness of this watch is also pretty nice. It's very comfortable to wear. You have a display case back at the back with a Miyota movement with a personalized rotor, which I think is very nice, from Citizen. So yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite watches. I picked this up for around 400 pounds, so I'm not sure how much that would be in dollars, probably 500 and odd. And I think for that price, an absolute bargain. Absolute bargain. The only thing is, I haven't been able to find the bracelet for it. Been looking everywhere for a bracelet. I can't find it. And the bracelet of the Grand Turing Sport that I'm about to show you doesn't fit on this one, as I think there's about 1 mil difference in the cases. So I've got it on the original leather strap at the moment, which is a shame because I really, really want that bracelet for it. I think that's going to take it to the next level in terms of usability in different scenarios. But this is an excellent watch in my opinion. Now, coming up next, we have what is pretty much the brother to this watch. It's the Citizen Grand Turing Sport, and this is by far my favorite watch. As I said, I owned the two-tone in black and gold, and I sold it and I regretted it pretty much instantly, and then I spent the next year looking for the blue dial one at a good price, and I ended up finding this at what I think is an excellent price of around £420. For £420, I personally, and once again, this is my own opinion, but you can't find a watch better than this, at least I don't think so. It's an absolutely incredible watch in every way. I mean, first of all, just look at this bracelet. 4 different pieces on each link. You have polished in the center, brushed on the other part. You have a clasp, but it's nothing special, but it gets the job done. But the bracelet is just gorgeous, and it's been so well finished, so comfortable to use. And then you have obviously this dial. I mean, first of all, look at that sapphire crystal. You can't even tell it's got a crystal on there. It's the best sapphire crystal I've ever seen in my life, in terms of anti-reflective coating, in terms of actually being able to see the dial of the watch with no distortion. It's incredible. I mean, sometimes I feel like I can just put my finger in and just touch the dial. It's amazing. Then you have that big bezel, those bold indices, that color variant between the orange and the blue, obviously very nautic. Just an amazing watch, and you have the same case back as the previous one with that same personalized rotor. So yeah, this is definitely my favorite watch at the moment. Here we have a first chronograph. This is the Bintrol Le Mans. This is a German-made watch. This is in the rose gold tone with a black dial. I really like the dial on this watch. It's got that sword, and it kind of very elongated sword style hands with a chrome finish in rose gold. Then on the sides you have pretty much polished everywhere. There's not really much to it in terms of the case finishing, but it does look good, albeit it is an absolute scratch magnet. And I'm sure, or at least I'm dreading the moment when that coating starts coming off. At the back we have a seagull movement, which is gorgeous. I mean, it is one of the nicest movements in any of the watches I own at the moment. Obviously some people have different opinions in terms of seagull and their reliability, but I think they're plenty reliable and they're gorgeous movements. Now, one of my main complaints obviously is the thickness. It's a bit thick and a bit top heavy, but at the end of the day, because I'm getting that movement, I don't really care too much about the extra thickness. The pushers could be better, however they do fit very nicely with the shape of the case. They are quite a streamlined design, so I can't really complain about that. But the star of the show in this watch is the dial with that black and gold and red. Just a gorgeous dial. One of my favorite chronographs at the moment. Here we have a newbie to the collection. This is the Christopher Ward C60 Elite GMT 1000. 1000 meters water resistance. So you can go and join James Cameron and looking for the Titanic. You also have a titanium case and bracelet. You have a deep blue dial and bezel with the orange, once again keeping in line with the same kind of Nautic inspired color scheme. You have that helium escape, a valve at the bottom. You have a bit too thick of a case, in my opinion. I would have preferred had they got rid of the display case back to shave off 1mm of the 16mm width height of this watch. The bezel has a bit of play, but once you're actually using it, it feels really, really good. It has a very nice clip to it, has a very nice feeling to it, and the edge of this bezel is very similar to the Tudor Pelagros with that coin edge, so it's very easy to use. It's obviously a GMT function. It has a white inner chapter ring for the 24 hours, which I think plays very, very well and adds a lot of depth to this dial and this design. So it's a very, very attractive looking watch with those two logos, Christopher Ward at the 9 and then under the 12 that flagged logo, which I definitely think is an improvement to how they did it before without putting any logo at the 12. They just look a bit too bare, a bit too empty. The clasp is a very good clasp. It has also a kind of a Christopher Ward's version of a glide lock system, so you just push it in to be able to get what I'd say is about 70% of an extra link in adjustment, which is obviously a very, very useful thing to have. And in terms of the actual usability, wearability of this watch, is very comfortable and very lightweight, obviously, as it's all titanium made. So yeah, this is definitely a very good piece, retailing for around £1,700 odd. Next, we have a Nove Craftsman. Now, this is obviously going to be a Marmite effect watch. Some people are going to like it, some people are going to absolutely hate it, but I think it's really, really cool. Now, this is obviously a quartz watch, mecha quartz watch. It has a ebony wood case mixed in with metal, 60 individual pieces apparently with integrated straps, very nice buckle with that N logo in the center, and obviously it's a huge watch. I mean, it's a dinner plate of a watch. Personally, the only thing I don't like is the fact they put kind of those little circular rivets, those little circular dots in the dial. I think it cheapens the watch so much. I mean, any other indice I think would have looked better than that. This makes it look like a fashion watch, which isn't what it feels like in the hand. In the hand, it feels like a very solid, very well built watch. I made a review of this on channel, so you can go and check that out to see what it is that this does at the back, in case you don't know. Yes, it turns out that's this crown of this watch. That's the crown of it. So if you want to see how it works, if you want to see all the other details that this watch has to offer, you can go and have a look at that review. This retails for around £430. So I think personally, if you like the look, it's a very, very well built watch. That is for sure. Now, next up we have a bit of a strange watch. This is by a Swiss micro brand called Muse Swiss Art Watches, and this is the Kyrian model. This is a absolutely stunning piece of art. I mean, this is where horology also becomes art, in my opinion, which happens often in other pieces, but I think with this one it's definite. From the first second you look at this, you know this isn't just your average watch. It's made of titanium. It's got an ETA movement that was revived after not having been in production since in 1982, if I'm not mistaken. It's obviously that geometric pattern on the dial. It has that very, very futuristic, aggressive looking case, which is one of the nicest case designs I've seen on any watch. I mean, it's just a gorgeous case design, and the way it plays on the wrist is just stunning. I've made a review of this. I'm going to post it in a few days. You can see the back, that movement, which has been finished by hand, and you can tell the detail and the way this movement plays with the light is gorgeous. That case back design with the Muse and those screws on the side. I mean, it's just such a good looking piece. Now, keep in mind, this is a watch that costs over $3,000, so it's not a cheap watch by any means, but personally I absolutely love this watch. This has been one of the watches that I've worn most frequently since I've got it around 2 months ago, so it's definitely an excellent watch, and they have a bunch of different designs, so you can go and check those out too. Coming up next, we have the Crew Automatic Diamondback. This is obviously Audemars Piguet IWC inspired watch with those kind of rivets on the bezel, has a brushed finish on the bezel and on on the case on the top, then polished on the corners, as this very, very interesting dial, which is one solid piece of brass that has been stamped out with those kind of diamond patterns. A lot of different detail and little things that you can look at the case, little cutouts like this cutout for the integrated bracelet that looks kind of like an elongated diamond shape. Then you also obviously have these edges that have been kind of made to look both soft and aggressive at the same time. I mean, this is pretty much the case design of the D1 Milano, but done to perfection. I mean, everything about this case is just amazing. I love the design of this watch. I love how they've managed to make the mix of gold with stainless steel work. I love that dial, that pattern. I mean, it's just such a good looking watch. This is an Australian based micro brand, and they've made quite a few different watches. Also, this watch comes in blue and in green dial, so you may want to check those out too. And it retails for around $1,500, which, considering the movement, which is a Swiss Tech movement personalized for crew automatic, I think is a very, very good deal. I've got it on the FKM rubber strap, and I'm waiting to get the bracelet in. Once I have that, I'll show you how it looks, because the bracelet is awesome too. Now, coming up next, we have my second and last chronograph of this part of the collection, and maybe in the future I'll show you the other ones I have in stock. But this is the Sumivoiture. As much as Sumi may sound Japanese, it is a Swedish-based micro brand. This is obviously a vintage-looking, race-inspired chronograph, which at the end of the day aren't they all. But with that bezel, with that kind of faded effect, matte effect, looks very, very in keep with the vintage look. I really like this mustard color on the dial, and then that cream color on the sub dials. I think it looks so good. It's such a good combination, and the actual fit and finish on this watch is really, really impressive. This sells for around 370 euros, and it has a Seiko Mecha Quartz movement as far as I can remember, sapphire crystal obviously, and you have quite a lot of attention to detail on the case. It's not your standard chronograph for this price. There's quite a few different levels of finishing. You have polished, you have brushed, and you have quite a few separations which add to the whole luxurious appearance of what is at the end of the day a budget chronograph watch. So yeah, I'm very impressed by this watch. You can see the case back with that stamped out Sumi logo. Very nice watch, definitely one of the ones that I've been using also most frequently. Now we're coming up to another diver, and this is the Etios Avicii. This is another American-made dive watch. It's very simple dial, as you can see, printed, everything, pretty much nothing applied, no indices applied. However, that does mean that the loom on this watch is absolutely mental. Crazy loom. The bezel insert is titanium, that's why it has that color, and it's definitely not something that you see often. The case has a few different finishings between brushed and then polished at the top. The bracelet is just the kind of bracelet that you get on a watch costing $100, so that's a bit disappointing. The case back has a H2O molecule design, which is pretty nice, and it has a Swiss SW200 movement with a sapphire crystal, screw down crown, and 300-meter water resistance. Now, out of Australia, we have another micro brand called Muse, and this is the Irukanji in the pink dial version. Now, obviously, this is a very, very extravagant dial. I mean, that's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but keep in mind they do have blue dials, black dials, a bunch of different colors. If you see the shape of this case, it looks like a jellyfish, because at the end of the day it's inspired by the Irukanji jellyfish, which is a very venomous jellyfish that you commonly see in Australian waters. And I think they've done a really good job in terms of the actual shape of this case, making it more narrow at the top and then wider as it goes towards the bottom, and then it narrows in just in the spot that touches your wrist. And at the back you have this very attractive design with the image of an Irukanji in polished and quite a deep printing onto the case back. You have a ceramic bezel, sapphire crystal with some dome to it, and you have the crown at the 10, although you can also choose to have it at the 5 as far as I can remember. I've got it on this black strap to obviously kind of take away a bit of of that brightness of that pink dial. This watch sells for around $220, and for that price I actually think this is a very, very good deal. The fit and finish of the watch is excellent, the sunburst effect is excellent, the case is unique, it's original, it's not the same kind of bog standard case you get on any old diver at this price range. As a screw down crown, very nice case back design, and yeah, I think it's a very solid offering from a very new company. The next one is a Yannick Watch, and this is a custom made watch. I've personalized every aspect of this watch. It has a brass case, so I'm looking forward to the patina it's going to build as time goes on. And all the dial, everything you can see on the dial is luminous, so this lights up like no other watch I have in my collection. As you can see, it has a Avicii in the center, and then it has the autobotos going around the minute and hour hand. It's a design that personally I think looks very, very good, but obviously you can customize the watch in any way you want. You can put your own logo, you can put images, pictures, whatever you want. It's, in my opinion, a superior experience to Undone. I have a few custom made Undone watches, and I think the fit and finish of Yannick watches and the experience of editing and the amount of custom personalization that you can do, I think is excellent, and it's probably the one I'd recommend if you want to get a custom made watch. Now, coming up next, we have a watch I really don't know anything about. This is a Rotary skeleton hand winding piece. This used to belong to my uncle, may he rest in peace, and it was passed on to me, and I can't really find any information about it. I don't really know even where to look, as there's not really any information on the back or on the movement of this watch. However, it's a very attractive watch. You have kind of that crown with that what I imagine is a bit of acrylic or something at the end. It looks like a Cartier tank crown. It's a very, very attractive piece, very small, also very vintage looking. So yeah, if you're watching this and you have any clue about what watch this is, if you could let me know in the comments, I'd appreciate it, as I'd like to know a bit more information about it. However, this is one that I wear on special occasions, as it's already been obviously worn for quite a while, so I don't want to damage it, especially if I don't know anything about it to begin with. Now I've got it on this red strap, which is a bit too colorful, but I think it works. I think it looks good. Now, moving on to the next watch, we have what would be probably the female version of the Muse watch, the Tyrian I showed you, or if you prefer to have a smaller watch, then you could wear this definitely. This is the Stella version of their watches. It is once again a beautiful watch. It has an onyx dial. By the way, I forgot to say that in the Tyrian. Both of these watches have an onyx dial. Yeah, the stone onyx. So that's just impressive, very impressive. The movement is pretty much identical to the other one. It finished to the same high standard, just a gorgeous, gorgeous movement. Once again, the case shape of this watch is completely unique, gorgeous, highly polished throughout. It's obviously going to be a scratch magnet because of that, but it's made of titanium, so it's quite resistant. Now you have a flat crystal and you have that geometric pattern in the center, and let me just unscrew this screw down crown to show you how the actual if you could even call these hands watch hands, which you can actually tell the time. As you can see, one of the hands, one of these kind of Trevor hands, clubber hands, has a tip hollowed out and the other one has a tip filled in. That's your minute and hour hand, but you can see how it makes different shapes, and it's just a gorgeous watch to look at. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a piece of art as much as the Curian that I showed you is. They also have some watches with aventurine dials, which just look absolutely crazy. Now, keep in mind, this watch, as is the Curian, is a very expensive piece. So this watch sells for around $3,000, just over $3,000. So yeah, you have to keep that in mind. If you're buying this watch, you're buying it mainly because you think that the artistic expression of it is what justifies the price tag, because obviously there's a lot of competition for this range. Now, coming up next, we have this Undone watch. This is a watch I gave my girlfriend quite a few years ago, and this is one of the reasons why I said that I'm not really too fond of Undone. I mean, the fit and finish of it isn't great. It's a chronograph. It's got a bunch of scratches on the crystal. It's cheap crystal, it's not sapphire. I'm not sure exactly what material it's made of. Very basic dial. The chronograph function works fine. It's a Seiko Mecha Quartz movement at the end of the day. I think the best part of this watch is definitely the case back. They allow you to put even a picture. You can see the case, the sign also there. At the back I put this picture. You can see that looks pretty good, and I think it fits the whole style of the watch, kind of like a vintage retro style with that blue dial. Now here we have a Seiko homage. Yes, these exist apparently. This is a Seiko turtle homage. It's the Merkur Ocean Master Professional 300. This is actually, in my opinion, a better value and a better fit and finish watch than the Seiko equivalent is. I've looked at this in macro lenses. It's done to a very high standard. It has a ceramic crystal, sapphire crystal, ceramic bezel. Very, very nice case back. I mean, absolutely gorgeous case back with that turtle. The case obviously is very similar to the Seiko turtle case. You have a flat sapphire crystal. You have kind of that, it's not a sunburst dial, it's more like a fume dial with the blue in the center getting darker towards the edges. Very big applied indices, so legibility is great, although the lume could be better. The lume was a bit disappointing. And you also have this red little ring around the crown. So yeah, for $200 or even less, $180, excellent watch. Here we have the Dufa Bayer. This is probably my only purely dress watch that I use frequently, and that's just because it plays so well with so many different outfits, and you can change the strap, and it's just a strap monster in my opinion. You also have quite a bit of detail on that dial. You have that cutout section, cutout ring, and then you have the indices kind of going over, bridging over that gap. You have that applied logo of the shield Dufa that I think is very attractive. Then on top of the 6 you have that calendar date, which once again is very good looking. A very small case, if I'm not mistaken, it's a 39mm. It wears very nicely, very comfortable. You have a Sellita SW200 Swiss movement at the back with a personalized rotor. So yeah, for around, if I'm not mistaken, this watch goes for just over 400 euros, maybe 450 euros, I'm not sure. I think it's a good value watch. It's definitely one of the dress watches I have had that's got the most attention when I'm out wearing it. So in terms of wearability, I mean, it's very good watch. As you can see, you can dress it down and you can dress it up just by changing the strap, or even putting a bracelet on if you wanted to. Now moving on, we have what is my first automatic watch ever. As is the case with many other people, this is the Invicta Pro Diver. This is an amazing watch. I mean, for the money, it's probably the best dive watch you can get. You can get this for around $80 or even less if you look around. I've had this for probably 6 years now. It's been with me to probably more than 10 countries. I've abused it like you have no idea, and it's still ticking as new. Obviously it's taken a beating aesthetically, but in terms of functionality it's still as good as new. And the actual fit and finish on this watch is really good. A very nice dial, obviously a Rolex homage. Very nice bracelet actually. A bracelet that's actually better than bracelets that I've had on watches costing 4 or even 5 times as much. You have a aluminium insert bezel, which is prone to scratching and scuffs, so that's a bit of an issue. I would have preferred to see a ceramic bezel. However, they're obviously in keep with the Rolex version, which had indeed a stainless steel insert, an aluminum insert. So I mean, in terms of a first watch, this is pretty much perfect in my opinion. Anyways guys, that was my current collection, or at least my 20 favorite watches at the moment. Let me know which one you preferred. Till the next time, peace.